speaking of bills that the House wants to pass, there are some Republicans, and I would pray that they're not conservatives. There are some Republicans in the House who have been floating a proposal to bring back earmarks. We got earmarks stopped. Now, bear in mind, earmarks are basically billions of dollars for pet projects that are tucked into spending bills. It's one of the many problems we have in Washington, but we thought we kind of had this at bay. But multiple House Republicans say the proposal to reverse the ban was on track to pass in a closed-door meeting before Speaker Ryan argued that they needed to slow down that process. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. Rachel Bovard is joining us. She is the Director of Policy Services for the Heritage Foundation. Rachel, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your time today. Let's talk a little bit about earmarks. I mean, I kind of thought we'd gored this and it was gone, but it looks like there are a number of people on the Republican side who want to bring it back.
Yeah, it was gone. It's been gone since 2011, and you can see the decline in spending on these projects as a result. But now, Donald Trump won on draining the swamp, and House Republicans apparently think that means bringing back earmarks. So you saw the vote yesterday. It almost took place until Speaker Ryan intervened and said, we should have this vote in front of the American people. We'll have it in a few months. So Trump's going to come in his first 100 days, and he's going to try to implement his agenda, and House Republicans will be debating whether or not to bring back earmarks. Sounds like they didn't quite get the message of November 8th.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm a little surprised that they would think this was a good message to send not only to their constituents, but to this new administration.
Yeah, I think that's right. I work for Senator Jim DeMint, who's one of the authors of the original earmark ban. And, we've seen a lot of crony deal-making and sweetheart deals as a result of earmarks. We asked Duke Cunningham, who went to jail over earmarks. Ted Stevens was investigated for his misuse of earmarks. Taxpayers paid $14 billion for the big dig in Boston and the bridge to nowhere. These are all earmarked projects. There is no reason for the Congress to bring these earmarks back. If they want more control over the spending, write better bills. But don't set yourself up to make sweetheart deals and potentially criminal acts.
So what was their argument, if you could enlighten us on bringing these things back?
So this was an amendment to the House Conference Rules, and it was supported by actually 4 Republicans. And their argument was that the Congress needs to have more control over where specific funding goes, particularly in the Department of Defense, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Department of Homeland Security. They wanted to have more funding over where those projects went. And Congress does have the power of the purse. But unfortunately, the reason that this money isn't being spent in an efficient way is because Congress is writing bills that are incredibly vague. And they give too much authority to the executive agencies. If they want to have more control over where that money goes, they can reform the criteria for those projects. But don't give earmarks back to members of Congress. That just creates an environment for favor trading, massive spending, bloated spending bills, and potentially backroom deals and sweetheart deals for lobbying.
Oh, absolutely, and money that's locked in and it's sort of hidden from the public. In a lot of cases. I remember Robert Byrd was one of the biggest offenders of this, Senator Byrd from West Virginia, one of the smaller states in the nation, and they got billions of dollars through pork barrel spending that he would load into these bills that were going through the Senate.
That's right. I mean, we have all the evidence we need to understand how earmarks work in practice. People say, Congress should have more control over where this money goes. But that hasn't been historically what's happened. What's happened instead is you've created an environment for favor trading. You've created an environment where the most powerful members get the most money. This is federal taxpayer money coming from all over the country. They get that money to send back to special interests that only benefit, a handful of people. That's not how this is supposed to work.
No, and I hope that people listening to this program are going to call their respective Congress people and let them know how they feel about this. I'm hoping that the phones are ringing at Ann Wagner's office. I don't know where she stands on it. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to her since this happened. Congressman Luetkemeyer in our district here, Congressman Shimkus, there are lots of people. We need to reach out and let them hear from the people and say, no, we're done with this. The point is to make government smaller, not to lock in pork barrel spending.
That's right. And what was interesting about this vote was because it was a House rules vote, so every new Congress, the Republicans set new rules for themselves. And this is done behind closed doors and by secret ballot.
Oh.
Right. And so Speaker Ryan, to his credit, said, no, we need to do this in front of the American people. So that's why they're going to push the vote to the full floor so people will be able to see how their congressman voted on it transparently. But originally, this was going to be done behind closed doors by secret ballot. So you wouldn't have even known if you were a member of Congress would have supported this.
Wow. Rachel Bovard, listen, I appreciate your time. I'll direct people to heritage.org where they can also read more about this issue and many others. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
Yep, thank you. I just wanted to alert you guys to this. When I saw this story, I reached out to Heritage. They were able to find me Rachel, who's an expert in this particular area. And, of course, Heritage, as she mentioned, is now run by Senator Jim DeMint, who led the fight to cut out these earmarks to begin with. If you're going to stop overspending, how do you let me see.